this is Zeray Press. Today we are having a guest, Dr. Charlotte Touati from Paris. Thank you very much, Dr. Charlotte, for having you and to share your research findings on the Tigray mining companies, particularly, I think, in the Horn of Africa, but in a particular focus in the Tigray mining companies.
So thank you very much for having me. Yes, I'm happy to share some of the results of my research, because I think it's quite important that Tigrayan people are aware of what's going on.
Yeah, just thank you very much. And I would like you to introduce yourself, particularly before the war and during the war. You were part of the GR Tigray advocacy on Tigray genocide. So what was your support then, and on your latest book? Again, I want you to share our viewers about this.
So thank you. Yes, so initially I'm a philologist. I used to work on the Gay's manuscripts. I wrote my PhD and postdoctorates, editing and translating manuscripts, especially staying in the Tigrayan monasteries. So I was working there before the war, and I had a lot of contacts there, a lot of friends. And when the war started, and even before, we saw the hate speech growing. And when the war started, for me, it was impossible not to speak, not to tell what was going on. So I was outside Tigray, of course, due to the the blockade. So the best I could do was also to document war crimes, because as an historian, yes, I know how to do this kind of things. And I was not especially a specialist on of geopolitics or humanitarian, but I had to learn very quickly. And I started to also to document the testimonies of the survivor of the weaponized rape, especially in the camps in the Sudan. So we try to have a trial under universal jurisdiction, just to have, first of all, to have maybe to stop the war, to have a kind of electroshock. But it was very difficult. As you know, few people, especially the policy maker or in the press in Europe, were keen to act, to make something. So I struggled to find a prosecutor for this affair. So I continue to document. We have all the material, the testimonies, and I changed the way I wanted to advocate. So I wrote a script to produce a documentary on weaponized rape. So with this documentary, we could go to the US Congress, the House of Lords in the UK, in the EU Parliament, just to make this scandal known. And documenting the war crimes, I started to notice the action of the mining companies. And I grew up in Switzerland, where all the gold is refined, and I started to understand what was going on. So I decided to investigate this side also of the story, to know also the cause, part of the cause of the beginning of the war. And that's all. I finally wrote this book.
So your book is all about the companies in the Horn of Africa, in Sudan, in Eritrea, and in Tigray. So, would you share us something that you find it uniquely astonishing to the world? I mean, to the cause of the war in these findings? Would you share us? Yeah.
So the main company, probably also the audience know, the Canadian company called Nefson. They had there was a scandal in 2014 because Eritrean refugees filed a suit against Nefson for forced labor inhuman treatments. So the company needs at the time to build a defense line. So they didn't choose to deny, but they choose to say yes, okay, we are working in Eritrea, and the defense line was to defend also Eritrea, especially the PFDJ and the regime of Isaias Afwerki. So they hired lobbyists to whitewash this regime in the West. So they hired lawyers, also academics, and they developed what I call a toolbox against the human rights defender and also against the Tigrayans, because the line was also to say that the Tigrayans are the cause of everything in Eritrea. And the leaders, the big patrons in these companies started to tour also consulates, and they pushed also the Eritrean government to invade Tigray, because there are also deposits, gold deposits on the other side of the border. So there is a very tight chronology, especially in 2018, because there are many companies. There is Nefson, but when you watch closely to the people working there, you can see that the same people are working in different companies, such as Sunpeak, Danakali. This is always quite the same people. For example, in 2018, representative of Nefson and Danakali met in Geneva with the consulate, but also to advocate at the UN. And they pushed for the reconciliation between Ethiopia and Eritrea, just to have the border left, if a kind of, even sometimes they presented it as a kind of unification. And they were pushing that at the UN. They had contact with also Antonio Guterres, the General Secretary of the UN, and they pushed to have this peace deal, this peace agreement, in order to have also the sanctions against Eritrea left. And they had very close contact also with Antonio Guterres. Guterres even announced the sanctions to be left even before the signing of the peace agreement. So they are very closely aware of that. So this leader of the companies had direct access to political decisions. And now we know the price of this peace agreement between Eritrea and Ethiopia. The idea was to invade Tigray. And for the companies, the price also was access to the deposits. And another price was also the access to the port. And we see just right now the problem causing by the access to the Red Sea for Ethiopia. So in a way, we can say they sacrificed the Tigrayan people for gold and access to the sea. And this company had a direct implication in this kind of.
I think it's a Canadian company you're talking about, I think.
Excuse
the
me?
Canadian
Exactly.
mining company.
Because if you look at Sunpeak, a company which is settled in Chile. In fact, this is exactly the same guys as Nefson and Sunridge in Eritrea. So they started to put their, in French we say their interest in Shire, just to have that. And also Danakali, the big company which is active in fertilizer, potash, are also deposits in the Ethiopian Afar region. So they also hide at this trans-border deposits.
So just to put it in short, just the same companies are simply involving in Afar, in Tigray, Eritrea, and in Sudan, and politicizing everything for the resource reserves.
Exactly. Yeah.
It makes sense. And do you see the same actors involving in Tigray mining, particularly in Shiraz, this western part of
Exactly.
Tigray, adjustment to Eritrean border? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, is there any unique features that you find in Tigray mining companies linked to the Eritrean digital mining companies? Maybe who are the actors and what is going on there? How do you explain?
I think their role is mainly political because right now they can't they can't really extract because there are a huge technical problem, of course. But this company make their money not only because the Canadian side. I should just explain how it functions. So the Canadians and the Australian buy exploration license. So they find the deposit. They make their money by announcing that they find big deposits and the prices of the shares at the stock exchange rise. But they don't extract themselves. After that, they sell the company to Chinese exploitation companies. So right now, there is nearly no foreign companies, Canadian companies in Eritrea. This is always the same process. They explore, they announce, and after that, they sell to the Chinese. And they made that in 3 places in Eritrea. And they started the same process in Shire. So they explore, and maybe we don't know exactly the next step if they will sell that to the Chinese, but they don't exploit themselves. The problem is right now that this plant must be secured, and they hire militia to secure these plants. And we know that there are traffics, and there are problems with the militiamen and gunmen around these plants. So I can't document exactly. I can't say that because it's I could have problems, but we don't know in which way this company and the leaders take profit of the traffics. But we know that right now they can't officially extract the gold. All passes through traffics, and they also have contacts, and they can't act without the permission of local actors.
Could we know the local actors, particularly in Tigray? They are suspected to be the part of the authorities or the leadership.
Exactly. So I won't say. I can't say really yes name because it's more informal information. So that's difficult to point exactly because it could have judicial consequences. So yeah. But
and the Eritrean authorities are involved in the Tigray mining, gold mining.
Not officially, of course, but we know that they are part of these traffic routes. Yeah, yes.
And the smuggling way, I mean the market chain of the Tigray gold mining. I was watching a documentary film. Its final destination is in United Arab Emirates.
Exactly. So for the smuggled gold from Africa, and especially from the Horn, the way, yes, for the Tigray gold, parts of the gold go through Eritrea or Sudan to the Emirates, because there you can land in the Emirates with gold in your hand luggage. There is no tax, there is no control. And after that, the gold is melted and sent to Switzerland, because in Switzerland you can have the London standard certification And this way, this gold can enter a very official gold system of the national banks. So it's a way, yes, to recycle this dirty gold, and that's also my problem. I try to, yes, contact the Swiss refinery authorities, but there is a cult of secrecy in Switzerland. So, but all the gold of Bisha after was refined in Switzerland, so we know it passes through Switzerland, and this is very opaque, very opaque system. But
yeah, secret.
well, yeah, and so it passes through the Emirates and then mainly Switzerland. But there was a move last year from the central bank of Ethiopia just to have back all this gold, centralized it in the national bank. So there were attempts to that, and I think one of the main argument also between this and the Tigrayan authority, especially some part of the TPLF, is that some people in Tigray don't want, yes, to reroute the gold in Addis. They prefer to evade it through Eritrea, I think, and that is a main argument also.
I think it is, I mean, Abiy Ahmed in Addis Ababa, the central bank of Ethiopia make it too expensive to attract to buy and collect the gold mined in Tigray.
Yes, they
Is
did.
that the price attraction?
This is, yes, partly they try to raise the price, especially encourage the small scale mining, because we must say after the war there is a lot of people trying to find gold because some people who were former soldiers try to make a little money, and I think we must acknowledge that they are not all big smugglers, big thugs, and so this is also people who just want to, yes, to survive. And so they offer a price which is rising according to the quantity of gold. So the goal was to encourage people to group and to organize themselves to sell their gold to the central bank. Because the more you propose gold, the more expensive it is. That's the way they choose to make that. But we see that there are still quantities that are escaping central bank. So,
yeah, and yeah, given for your serious research engagement on Tigray and Eritrea in Sudan too, foreign companies and the local companies, particularly legal and illegal companies involved in Tigray mining. Could we know the estimation something? Foreign
the number
companies
or
and
the name?
local companies, again, legally and illegally, I mean, engaged.
Well, yeah, so illegally, it's quite difficult to say. There are really companies, so there are more. Yes, it is more illegal network with patrons. We know that some of these networks are organized with some people from the military people. And for the big companies, we have mainly Canadian, also some Americans, and we know that the Tigray is becoming very attractive for foreign companies. Yes.
The Tigrayan company is one of the biggest. I think Izana.
Excuse me. The biggest is Ezana, of course. Yes. So no. So the biggest company is Ezana. So Ezana is a subsidiary of Effort. You know the agency, still the Tigrayan agency, and this is that is the same in Eritrea. So you can't, foreign companies can't extract directly. They have to make joint venture, a total monopoly of mining, especially in Tigray, in Ethiopia, but in Tigray particular, by this company. And we had, so they all had to pass through Edana. So, and now it was maybe in 2023, there were problems with for example, the CNO of Ezana, because we have some good clues to know that these people evade part of the world. And normally also the central bank need to pass through Ezana, but last year they didn't deliver any gold. And when the argument becomes, yes, more serious, suddenly they find, I don't know exactly, but tons of gold. So where was it before? They said it was not. And from one day to another, to the other, they find tons of gold. So we can see that the management of the stocks led in a very private way and not very official, serious way. So we have that's the main problem. And the problem also is that the boss of the leadership of Ezana is also responsible to grant the license. So they also have this power to choose the people who can exploit gold in Tigray. So they have a double role, which is, I think, is problematic because we have a conflict of interest. So
and your research findings could it show us that probably the estimation of tons of gold mined in Tigray so far, or its estimation price amount so far extracted in Tigray going mining, how much is it? Could we say
in tons? Recently, so I don't have. I'm sorry, I don't have the figures right now, because I wrote the book till 2024. But yes, I could find that quite easily. But I don't have that in mind. Sorry, just right now. But we know that it's in tons, and. But the proportion of illegal gold passing through Eritrea and Sudan also, because there was also another road, we can estimate that there are more illegal gold than the gold directed to the central bank and officially declared. But I'm sorry, I can just, I don't want to, formulate erroneous figures because it's quite important. But we know that, of course, Getachew Reda and Tzadkan, also General Tzadkan, formulates figures and the quantity of gold. It's quite difficult to verify exactly all the figures announced. And also it's beginning. Yes, it's beginning to be also political leverage. So just to verify all the figures is quite because they use that one side, since the split of the TPLF, one side, one another accuses the other side of smuggling or diverting or taking profits of gold extraction in Tigray. So we must be cautious because in order not to favor one side or one another or another as a foreign researcher, I'm very careful not to interfere too much in internal political affairs in Tigray. So that's quite difficult.
Yeah, and would you say that Tigray is potential to gold resources compared to the Sudan and Eritrea?
This is the next hub. Honestly, the potential is very high, and the first company know that because it's done in what we call, the geologists call the Nubian Shield. So it's very rich. It's a polymetallic deposit. So you have a first level of gold, and after that you have copper and also other minerals. Of course, gold is very attractive. Now the prices, the global prices of gold is rising, also for political reason, because Russia, China are buying massively gold to restore their national reserve, just to step out the dollar standard, want to come back to a gold standard. So they are buying massively gold, so that's why also the price are increasing. But also in this type of deposit we find in the Nubian Shield and also in Tigray, you also have copper. And copper is what we call a critical mineral. It's important also in all kinds of technology, electronic device and so, and especially the Chinese are eyeing also copper deposits in the world. So we know we must not neglect also the copper and also other minerals. So Tigray is really rich. That's normal. We say Sudan is very well known for gold, Eritrea also, and you have Tigray, so it's quite normal to foresee the potential of mining in Tigray, and that's why we have to implement, especially in Africa, international standards for mining exploitation, in order to, because the profit benefits the local people and the local, because it's also a real potential of development if it's done properly. That's a chance for Tigray, as we saw in Congo, in diverse places. When it's not led properly, it's disastrous for the local population. So this is right at the time to empower the Tigrayan people, and not only clans or things like that, but really the Tigrayan people to benefit of these resources.
Yeah, but do you see because of this mining, legally or illegally, foreigners, locals, even the federal government is involved? So, as we see in what is going on or what has been going on in Congo, that intellectuals call it a resource curse. So, do you see that happening again similarly in Tigray mining gold? I mean, when you see the social crisis, political crisis, security crisis because of this so much chemicals, very dangerous to the animals, to the environment, and to the people around.
I won't say this is the unique explanation of the splits in the TPLF, in the Tigray authorities, and the next crisis. We can see that maybe there is a next war with Eritrea, but this has an importance, because there was a power struggle between, I think, the leaders, the Tigrayan leaders. That's true. There is a strategic difference in strategic views. There are also ego war between people, I think. But there is also this question of gold smuggling and personal interest. So, in a way, that's the cause also of the split, and with the domino effects, maybe could lead to another war. By supporting either Eritrea or Abiy Ahmed. So that's the main problem, and that's difficult for me to give advice because unfortunately the Tigrayan people, I mean the grassroots people, are quite they don't have tools to act, so that's very difficult. I'm pushing. I will take part to a big conference in London just to push to have this kind of international regulation, because this is not only Tigray. We say also we can see other place, and we must regulate between the big capitalistic companies, which want just profit at the price of human lives. but also the local leaders must be aware of they must care for the welfare of their people. And I think we should regulate that on a global level, because it's a main problem, especially with the race for critical minerals and for gold. We can foresee that it will happen in many other places. So I think we are quite now in a crossroad, and unfortunately, Tigray and the Tigray war was a kind of textbook example for that.
Yeah, and do not you see the same thing or the same practice that this forced labor involving Tigray minings, like what is going on in Eritrea, Dinsha?
Alors, by the forced labor, the problem in Eritrea was the whole system, because they take advantage of the national service.
Yeah.
So the people who were conscribed for the national service, so were put at the disposal of this company, and they said they were not aware. They say because they use Eritrean companies, which was literally giving people to work in the mine. So it is directly related to the national service. In Tigray, I'm not really aware of that, but the problem is also in all, you can say that also in South Africa. When you have a real social crisis, a real economic crisis with people with no who are left with no revenue at all, they must work. So sometimes they are involved in illegal networks against their will. And that's also a big problem. And the problem of also the former soldier, TDS soldier, who were left after the war without revenue. This problem must be also addressed, because they try to make some money. And you know how it works. You begin with a half legal activity, and due to networks and because you are involved with bad people, sometimes you find yourself in very dire situation, unwillingly, in fact. So there is a problem also of protection of the people on the ground, I think.
Yeah, and so in Tigray, most people are very angry at the mining companies, because the society, let alone the whole Tigray, but the specific society who are taking their lands for mining are not benefiting anything from that, but they are, because of the mining effects, negative effects, the environment, their animal themselves are negatively affected. Do not you see that the social that would have later, let's say next 5 years or the next generations, the social crisis, the environmental crisis? Could you say something about that?
This is always the problem with these big companies. They promise, development. This is the magic word, development for the region. But what we see is that this company don't give so much work for the local people. They damage the environment. They also pollute the water, which is very important for agriculture, the soil. And they also expropriate people, but they don't give job. And because especially when it is what we saw in a place, when this company, who have the big Canadians, and after that for exploitation, they sell their company to the Chinese. The Chinese take their own workforce with them. So it's like, these mining plants are like camps, with self-sufficient camps. So sometimes they don't even buy food or things like that. Just make small business with the locals. They even import their own food. So it's benefiting the local economy, the local fabric. But on the contrary, they pollute the water. We saw there was already pollution. It was documented also by geographers, the pollution in Tigray. And as there is this kind of, a race to gold, and also small scale and illegal mining, it's not done properly. So they try to dig everywhere without any safety, without any precaution for the environment. So that's also must be regulated. But that's quite complicated because we are not integrated. It's not still the emergency state, or this is not the war anymore. But we see that there is a problem of governance problem. So how to manage that and control, and for also the safety of people. That's the main challenge if you want to see Tigray to recover. Because and I know from most of the people also the attachment also to the landscape, to the also the birth of their ancestors. So also damaging the landscape is more than just economic or environmental problem. It's also an identity problem. So we need also to address that.
Yeah, and do you have something to fear that because of foreign companies, particularly the United Arab Emirates or the Australia or Canada or Chinese, would be more attracted to enter to this company place, feeling the social, political, security crisis in the Horn of Africa, in Eritrea, Sudan, and given the Sudan's crisis now and the Tigray crisis now.
Sudanese crisis is unfortunately an horrific example of what could happen. The backing of the Emirates is a main problem in the region, and because so in the Sudan you can see that they are flooding the RSF with weapons for gold, and the problem is that we all know that the Emirates are the main backers of Abiy Ahmed. So they are already present in Tigray, but they are not extracting. They are buying the gold once it is already extracted. But a major fear is that they get more and more involved, and we know that politics is very liberal. So he wants to attract foreign companies. His governments, the foreign minister was in Paris just a few days ago, just to discuss big contracts. So mine also, if we step to a political level, is that once again Tigrayans will be sacrificed for big contracts. Now we have a move to see that Isaias is the bad guy. We all know he is, but and the tendency to whitewash Abiy Ahmed, which is the young liberal leader of the Horn. There are big contracts to be signed in Ethiopia, and the tendency is just to forbid what happened. The accountability is the main problem. So I'm not very optimistic on that side. So maybe also the Tigrayan community, but also the international advocates must watch this quite closely and just push, to have a good regulation and denounce what was going on. And if and when Tigrayan people see abuses in Tigray made by or linked to this company, there were already trials in Canada. So sometimes this could be a way also to save international bodies.
Yeah.
Maybe initiatives could be taken. But unfortunately, that's quite due to the politics, and also because Abiy Ahmed could be seen by foreign governments as the strong man in the horde, with who we can talk, and so yeah, we must be aware that closely.
Yeah, something struck my mind from your analysis that the TPLF and the Eritrean government led by Isaias Afwerki are having these alliances, they call it in Tigrigna. So probably something in the mind of Isaias to make alliances with TPLF would be the mining pursuit, the pursuit of mining, or the interest in the
Yes,
mining.
yeah, so we can say that right now because I'm more cautious, excuse me. But yes, one of the main, not only there are historical ties, there are cultural ties, strategical move, and so. But yeah, it was also to guarantee some illegal mining routes, of course, between
Yeah, yeah.
Tigray and Eritrea.
Yeah, because I fear, as a Tigrayan journalist aware of the crisis there, I fear for the next that Tigray would be the battlefield of foreign and local
Exactly.
criminals, given the Abiy Ahmed is interested there in the Isaias, the United Arab Emirates. So they would make us, like.
If we zoom out a bit and very roughly, we can say on the Eritrean and the TPLF side, we have the illegal mining against the so-called legal big companies with Abiy Ahmed. So we have these two main parts. So and sometimes the legal is not better than the illegal, but and we have this shift, I think, yeah, and because but in both ways, I don't see the people benefiting from the exploitation. Either it's with the kind of warlord patrons or the big companies. In both sides, it's not benefiting the people. And in the end, from the both way, you have the Emirates. In any case, they win. So that's maybe it's legal or illegal.
Okay, probably the last question I want to know whether you feel it or not is that, do you think that the Tigray resource, this potential of gold or some minerals resourceful potentiality, is a blessing or a curse for Tigray at current?
Currently, right now, with maybe more kind of curse, but in the long run, I think it's important to say to change it in a blessing. I think this could be made. Tigrayan people must be allowed to exploit themselves, maybe because there are very smart Tigrayan businessmen and women. So this could be done. So they must just have the license to do that, and not be completely, because it's huge. It's very huge, and maybe enter a partnership with this big mining company. Because it's very, very expensive to extract. So you can't do that just in any way. But it could be also a major line of advocacy, just to have shares in this exploitation, and maybe also just make place for the small scale mining also. And it must not be pushed in the illegality. So it must be the people must work safely. They must benefit from their work. There is also a way to manage the small scale mining, not to damage too much the landscape, of course. But the people must see the benefits of mining.
Yeah, so if you have something to recommend or to advise international companies to involve this mining to there is international law on how to mine and how to discharge these social responsibilities to the local people, but they are not doing that. And this would follow that the people will be angry and would try to, yeah.
Be- they must address that because there are also because now there are laws and this is moving. Because I'm also working in my own country on that. We are participating in forums just to have this kind of regulation because there is there is a reputational risk. There is also this could you could have also international sanctions, and also now there are ways for local people, especially more indigenous people, but local people. There are bodies that can help them also when they see abuses. They can enter a legal suit, and this company must be aware of that. And now we enter in a century where this kind of big companies can't do whatever they want, and they must be aware of that. And I think they're quite afraid sometimes. We have pressure. Myself, I already had pressure to due to my work. So I sometimes receive message, and but no, they must be aware that the people can also act. But we know that this kind of is very big. It seems absolutely out of reach for the people, but no, there are ways. So if there are groups of people, collectives that want to act, if they want to document, maybe this could be put in the international scene.
So thank you very much, Dr. Charlotte, for having you and for your informative and insightful analysis.
So thank you very much for raising the question and for inviting me, and for your very clever question.